Good evening, everybody. Retro Game Nerd here. This is the power supply that was sent to me by TheAtariJunkie. It's a broken power supply. As promised, I'm going to do a video on how to repair this, or how I'm going to repair this. When I received it, as you can tell, the wire here is broken. Right there on that side. So what I did, trying to keep this as original as possible, is I sliced down the side here with an X-Acto knife and this side here with an X-Acto knife, leaving me access to this wire. Pretty simple what I'm going to do here. I'm going to cut this wire off right where that break is, peel it back and strip it. Then I'm going to solder the two connections together and heat shrink it, and then glue this back together. So for the most part it'll look as original as I can make it look. I understand with the 5200 I didn't do that, and the reason why I couldn't do that is I wanted to put the fuse on the outside of it. That way if it blew, it was easier to change. I, however, don't want to break this open if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come into here where that is, and I'm going to cut it off. It's that simple. Don't worry about messing it up, because if you can tell, this wire here, one side has a white line across it, the other side's solid black. It'll be the same thing inside the power supply here. We're just going to match those up. So what we're going to do is we're going to split these two wires apart, as so. And I'm going to take my wire strippers and I'm going to strip these back. I'm going to do the same thing with inside the power supply here. This being roughly 18 gauge wire, or 16 gauge wire, excuse me. I'm going to strip it back with that. Once I'm done with this here and this here, I'm going to tin each one of these with solder, and then I'm going to slide this heat shrink over it. Once I get that far, I will then turn the video back on and go from there. So right now I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back in a few minutes. Alright guys, made the connections with the wires. As you can tell here, what I did is I soldered them together, white to white, black to black. Actually it's white line to white line, black to black. All that is your polarity. You want to make sure you have your polarity correct. In other words, positive to positive, negative to negative. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to slip this heat shrink over these connections here on each one of these, and then I'm going to heat these connections up, or not heat the connections up, but heat the heat shrink up, shrinking it on each one. Try not to use electrical tape on this. Always try to use some sort of a heat shrink. It's really your best route. Electrical tape over time will peel away, peel off. You really want to avoid using that. Use this torch here. Heat up the heat shrink. Heat it up over here. Like so. Throw this down here and get into it. like so. And that's it. Let it cool off here. Take our connections. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some glue or epoxy and I'm going to glue this back together. Once I do that, we should have our connections. It'll look about like that. And once we're done there, we'll plug it in and we'll see if it works. So we're going to pause the video again, and I'm going to glue this back together and I'll show you the finished product, and then we'll plug it in to see if it works. Well guys, this has been complete. Here it is. It's the complete repair of this power supply. So TheAtariJunkie, this is for you. I'm going to see if this power supply works, so we'll cross our fingers, and this is the game that you sent me. So this is the game I'll try it out on, and we'll see how it works. So everybody cross your fingers and let's see. Power. And we have power, guys. So let's play a round of Miss Pac-Man. And I can die. She went down a little quicker. So my Atari 7800 is working really well. Power supply is working good. So I can get my Atari 7800 back to gaming, and TheAtariJunkie can play his 7800, and everybody's happy. Anybody have any questions or any comments, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. You guys have a good night.